Hello again and welcome back to our course on Project 2019. In this section we're going to take a look at printing. During the course overall I'm actually going to look at printing twice. I'm going to look at it now and then later on in the course we're going to look at it again briefly in relation to printing reports from Project 2019. What we're going to look at now though is how you print the current view. So let's suppose that I want to print out the plan for the wedding. And not only can I print it to paper, but I could print it to an electronic document, such as making it into a PDF file. Or I could print it, for example, into Microsoft OneNote. So to access the print function in Project 2019, we go into the File tab, which jumps us into that backstage view. And then one of the options there is Print, which will take you to the Print page. Now on the left of the print page, there's a set of controls that I'm going to look at in just a moment. One of the controls is the print button. And if I click print now, it would print on the printer that's named immediately underneath it. And what it's going to print is previewed on the right. And it's this preview that I want to talk to you about first. Now just below the preview in the left-hand corner, it says 1 of 9. So if I was to print this in its current state, I would get a 9-page document. If you look to the bottom right below the preview, there's a set of little wedges like arrows, and you can use those to step through the 9 pages. So I can go across and then back again, and I can go down and back up again. Now what you'll notice is that if I click the one on the right, if you look at the page number as I do this, it's going to take me to page 4. If I click on the left one to go back, I get back to page 1. Clicking down takes me to page 2, clicking down again, page 3, and back up. And of course the reason for this, and you can see it by selecting one of these 3 views, the multiple pages view, which is the one on the right hand side, and it will show you there all 9 pages. So you can see it kind of runs across the page. And this is how my wedding plan would appear if I was to print it out now with all of these settings. So you can see there how to preview what will be printed. So let's now take a closer look at these options that we have over on the left. We have, of course, a number of copies option. You can either use these rollers to scroll up and down, or you can type a number into that box. And then, as I mentioned just now, you can choose the printer. Now, exactly which printers you have available will depend on the printers that you're connected to. But you will see an option in there which will allow you to print this to a PDF file. You also have options in there to print to OneNote, send to OneNote, and another application that I have, Snagit, which is a graphics application. So aside from printers, you do have some additional options in there, and PDF is probably going to be one that you'll use fairly frequently. Now, if you wanted to add another printer, so maybe another printer's arrived in your office and you need to connect to it, you can go into Printer Properties. And of course, right at the bottom there, we also have an option to add a printer. So if you've got a new printer or maybe a new printer's arrived in your office, you can add it into the list by selecting that option and working your way through the setup wizard. Now below the printer options, you have another set of settings, and these settings enable you to specify exactly what you want to print. So for instance, I can say to print the entire project, which is what I have selected already. But I have some other options in that drop-down menu. So I can print specific dates, print specific pages, or print custom dates and pages. And one of the options down there is whether you want notes to be printed. Now I mentioned that when we were looking at notes earlier on in the course. You also have an option here about whether you want to print all sheet columns, or if you want just the left column of pages only. And I think these options pretty much speak for themselves, but by all means give them a try. And if you want to or need to specify dates or pages to print, then you can use this set of controls just here. You can choose whether you want to print in landscape or portrait orientation using this control. And then finally, you can choose your paper size. So in the UK and Europe, the default is A4. In America, it's generally letter. So you can choose whichever paper size is appropriate for you. And finally, right at the bottom, we have a page setup link. And this brings up the page setup, in this case, Gantt chart dialog. Exactly what you get here will depend on the view that is current. Obviously, ours is a Gantt chart. And here you can do things like adjust the margins on the page. So you've got a margins tab just there. And you can have larger or smaller margins depending on the requirements to fit material onto pages. You can also, for example, add a header to each of your pages. Now at the moment, if I click on header, if you look in the preview box there, you'll see that there is no header. And in fact, if you look at the page behind, you'll also see that that's reflected. There is currently no header. So let's add a header to our page. Now the header can be in 3 parts: a left part, a center part, and a right part. So in the left part, let's put in the current date. Now you can't just go in and type in today's date because that will essentially hard code it, so it'll always say today's date. So what you have in Project 2019 is a set of fields that you can include. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the left one here and we're going to insert a date, which is this little icon just here. So what that means is that by putting a field in there, and you can see it showing up in the preview as today's date, the date that's actually shown when you print this particular view will be the date that you printed it, and that will update no matter when you print it. So that's the difference between hard coding a date in there and using the date fields. So in the right hand side, I might want to put the time, and in the center, I might want it to say our wedding. And if you look in the preview, you can see how that header is going to take shape when we click on OK. Now, before I actually click OK to confirm, let's just jump over to the footer tab. And the footer already has some content. And the content there is a combination of something that's been typed, so the word page, and then a field, which is the page number. And you can see this reflected at the bottom of the actual page. So we have page 1, which is this, the word page, and then the field for the current page. And then this field here means the total number of pages. So in this case, 9. So that's how we get this footer. Page 1 of 9. And again, these were just inserted using these fields just here. And click on OK. And you can see now that we have our header running across the top and our footer. So there's lots of things in there for you to experiment with and to play around with and really get your page looking nice, ready for printing. That's it for this section. I will see you in the next one.